Kayla. Nice job on the changes. You're almost there. So now this is just all kind of a balancing act now. So just some thoughts. I like your layout of the text, but I still think it's a little strong because this fat, blocky font, let me see if just removing some of the, yeah, I'm not a fan of bevel and emboss, so I don't usually use that, but I'm just wondering ways to make it not so strong. Maybe a little bit smaller, and maybe if you made it, I don't have the font, so I can't do anything with it. Maybe make it a little less saturated, like a darker red or something. That could actually help because, I mean, the thing is that it's just taking away from the caricature. You've got this really cool caricature, and then this is really strong too. I think it has it's on the side of having a little bit too many effects in it. Yeah, that looks really flat. Or, maybe just make the drop shadow less. You don't, or not use multiply. Or, even lower the opacity. There's so many different things you can do. Another thing that you might want to consider is making some of the shadow less strong. I know you've got the gradient going in that direction for the shadow, but this is really dark right here. So when you turn it off, you really can see more of the subtleties of this part of the caricature. So again, you might want to just work on the shape of the gradient. You can just select it and move it around if you want. And just see what it looks like. But I would probably, I would just probably make it lighter, just because it's, or just small. Well, it's just a little bit dark. You can try. You could apply the gradient different. You can look and see what levels would do to it. But that's going to affect the whole. And I'm just looking at the layer. The shadow layer, because I'm going to clip it. Yeah, see, it's hard because you've got the gradient, you've got the transparent part back here, but again, I would go with something like this light. I don't know if you can see that, instead of having it so dark, because again, you're just taking away from the this cool mouse texture. But see, when you can't really use the levels because it's gonna, I would just, try doing the gradient in the other direction, or just making, this part of the, just the white part smaller. So it's just looks more like this part of the gradient over here as well. And the background is looking good, but with this level, blend mode, it's starting to get a little washed out. I know you're probably thinking this is like, this is a normal process for graphic design where you do go back and forth a lot. So I'm just wondering what you could do. I'm just wondering, lower the opacity maybe. I'm just thinking without having a lot more work. Even something like that is a little bit better. I'm just lowering the opacity on this background, because what's happening is at full opacity, this white is just blowing out all these other colors. So it's just like, it looks like an overexposed part, and it almost just looks like it's not intentional. So if you just turn the opacity down a little bit on that background, what I do when I do it, I always go too far, so then I can go back, So even something like that looks great. And then if you tone the text down and tone the shadow down, I think you're going to be done. You've really come a long way with this, and you're going to have a really great portfolio piece as well. And another thing you can do too, and well, you don't want to put too much blue next to red. It ends up being kind of a it kind of vibrates if you put blue right next to red. So if you turned off the drop shadow, you would see how that's kind of creates a vibration, and that's really hard on the eyes. But you might just want to go with a little bit darker color or a less fat font. I probably would just put it over here and then move the whole thing over this way a little bit. I don't know. then you have this negative space. You're doing a good job with the negative space in other areas. Anyway, I'm going on too long, but really nice job, and I hope you get a chance to just make a few changes. You're really close to having a nice portfolio piece.